Hey there, Ed McCormack here, founder and CEO of the crypto education platform Dchained. And in today's video, we're going to change things up. And we're going to talk about a topic that we really haven't spent much time on at all over the last few videos, which is Washington lobbying. I know what you might be thinking. It's not a topic that many people want to talk about at a dinner party. It's often something that we kind of brush aside, and we know it's going on, but we don't really want to discuss it openly. But the fact is that some of the biggest firms and organizations in the crypto world are spending insane amounts of money right now to help bring in top regulators to help push forward favorable legislation and policies for the crypto world. And it could have an insane impact on the type of returns that you could be having in the very near future. So just stay with me for the next few minutes, and I think you're going to love what you're going to hear. And it all starts with the new head of the SEC. If you recall, the SEC has been somewhat of an adversary when it comes to the crypto world over the last few years. Only a couple of months ago, the SEC came forward and filed lawsuits against Ripple for falsely claiming that it's a commodity and not a security. And ultimately, with the new administration coming in under Biden, it's now opened the doors for a brand new head of the SEC to come in and look at cryptocurrency with a clear mind and fresh lens. And you couldn't have picked a better person than Gary Gensler. Now, Gary Gensler has an experience record that really speaks for itself, and I won't go too deep on that. But the one thing that I want to highlight here is that this is an individual who was teaching at MIT at one time, and not only teaching at MIT, but teaching crypto courses at MIT. So he's someone who knows a thing or two about cryptocurrency space, and he's been quoted many times talking about the different benefits and opportunities that cryptocurrency can create in the finance world. So it really, to start with someone at such a high level of power to come in and have an open mind for cryptocurrency is a great start. Now, with that said, let's talk about three main ways that Coinbase and Binance are investing in lobbying to push the crypto world forward. And the first way that they're investing is to improve its reputation. It goes without saying that cryptocurrency is still in a bit of a hangover from the early days of Silk Road and Mt. Gox. Like many immature platforms that are just starting out, there's opportunities for bad actors to rise to the top and make themselves known. And cryptocurrency was no exception. And that's where we had individuals who use the platform, blockchain technology, leveraged Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies for illicit purposes, and ultimately went to jail for it. But since those days, back in 2012, the cryptocurrency world has really moved forward, and we've seen everyone from Tesla to Microsoft, all the way through to Mass Mutual, one of the most conservative companies in the US, investing in this space and investing for their own cash reserves into Bitcoin. And with that, they've now created a new group called the Crypto Council, which entails Coinbase, Fidelity, Paradigm, and Square. And these four players are going to be spending a lot of time really clearing up a lot of misconceptions as it relates to blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, such as the fact that there's a misunderstanding and honestly a myth that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are only used for illicit purposes. Now, if we're going to talk about the best currency for illicit purposes, we'd have to talk about the US dollar. Bar none, there's the old saying that guns and drugs go north and the money goes south. And that money is good old green USD. So Coinbase, Fidelity, Paradigm, and Square, probably not going to be going into depth on that. But what they are going to highlight is that the level of transparency that blockchain technology affords can create new opportunities for groups like law enforcement to crack down on crimes and to also track down activities that might be outside the perspective that they might have right now in terms of the different techniques and tools that are at their disposal. The second way that they're investing in lobbying to really push forward everything is to help clarify all the different classifications that are now being given to cryptocurrency. So, for example, if you look at just Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you looked at what they're classified in for different US government agencies, it could be a bit confusing. See, if you were to ask the SEC, Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. And how commodities are taxed, it's taxed at 60% long-term capital gain, 40% ordinary income. But that differs from how the IRS now looks at cryptocurrency. And they look at it as property. And the way that property is taxed is completely different. So it gets pretty confusing. And add insult to injury, every time you use cryptocurrency, it's deemed a taxable event, which doesn't happen when you go and buy something with a $20 bill. So to have Coinbase, which is the market leader in the US, and Binance, who does more volume for crypto transactions and trading than anywhere else in the world, to have these two Goliaths really backing big name regulators and hiring individuals like Brian Brooks, who's the former comptroller of currency, and that role, ultimately helped bring about opportunities now for banks to store and secure crypto assets, which will be enormous when we start talking about banks offering ETFs and different crypto products. So for these two giant exchanges now to put their weight behind, new regulators and regulators with proven track records to help change that classification, it'll be enormous. And last but not least, where they're investing their money is to ultimately identify ways that we could start incorporating the traditional finance world and DeFi, and ultimately creating synergies between these two organizations where we can now start pushing forward projects and solutions that address many of the requirements that we already have today in the US, but is pretty much sat on a shelf because it didn't fit into the traditional finance box. So, for example, in the US, anytime that you deal in US dollars, there are compliancy laws that you have to fulfill. KYC, which is know your customer, and AML, which is anti-money laundering. And this creates a huge problem when it comes to DeFi, where in many cases, you don't have to register. You're actually transacting anonymously. But with that being said, there are new projects that have sort of filled that middle ground area called CeFi, Central, and ultimately help solve that problem. So to have these legislators ultimately push forward a project that might otherwise get swept under the rug because it didn't fit into the existing traditional finance ecosystem, that could be a huge event and a huge deal that ultimately will bring traditional finance to the DeFi world and vice versa. So just recapping, ultimately what we're talking about here. We have Coinbase, who just listed on the NASDAQ, hiring individuals like Brett Redfern, who is a top regulator from the SEC. You have Binance, who brought in the former comptroller of currency and also, back in March, hired a senator to ultimately help push forward with the Democratic Party different policies supporting cryptocurrency. You have these big behemoths in the crypto world putting their weight behind getting the right people in place to push policies and regulations forward when the time is perfect, when we have a brand new head of the SEC joining on board and ultimately making sure that this is front and center for fiscal policy moving forward. Because at the end of the day, cryptocurrency and traditional finance need to have one voice, and this could be the path forward. So if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, like it, share it, leave some comments below, and of course, check out Dchained.com to find out more about some of the products that we offer, whether it's courses, personalized coaching, or just simply crypto picks. And of course, check out our social networks, Twitter, Facebook. We'll have the links below. And of course, if there's anything that you would like us to cover moving forward, leave it in the comments. We'd be happy to do so. I'm Ed McCormack. Happy investing.